Welcome. Thank you for joining. Today we are going to be recapping the key points from our focus group meetings. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Now today's date is July 8th. Thank you. July 8th, 2023. This is the Evolving in Education General Meeting. So our first focus group meeting, if you read the leader, it is developmental neuroscience / psychology. Now I'm just going to skip the first two slides, and I've created shorts from Dr. Liraz, our head neuroscientist. I've created shorts from her to highlight the key points or the neuroscience tools which she shared with us to help to better learning
and you introduce a violin, let's say, to such a young child, a kindergartner, yes, they might break it, but on the other side, the benefits to the brain are tremendous. I cannot even tell you, these papers, many papers, document over 20 brain structures that are constantly activated when you teach the left and the right hand to play music. And it's more than that, right? It's also performing music, because during performance, now you have an added element of cognition. There's so much more to it. Now you have to express your feelings when you play a song in front of an audience. There is so much going on. So I would like to see music as a neuroscience tool incorporated in a more rigorous way, because we know it really transforms the brain from the inside. Okay, so I hope that you found some of this information helpful. If you read the list.
All right, and then there's one more brief one. Let's see.
Factor, and there's another molecule that we call brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and it's a very special protein. And so this BDNF, we call it for short, is responsible for converting short-term memories into long-term. And so what it means for the child who just finished exercising and is now sitting down to learn is that the brain now is going to be much more optimized for the learning process. I call it prepped and primed to learn, because it's more motivated. The attention and focus, it's right there due to this important protein that has been released.
All right, so I had tried to fit those into the slide presentation, but I wasn't able to. So we will skip the first two slides, because that was Dr. Liraz's sort of key point, was that through exercise and music, we can really expand children's development. So here's the focus groups. Developmental neuroscience / psychology is the first. Second is mindfulness, fitness, well-being. The third is childhood education curriculum, and the fourth is nutrition. So we will briefly summarize all the key points of those. I'm going to skip this because like I said, I tried to add it in the slides, but I couldn't. And I knew that Dr. Liraz would do a more engaging presentation, but this is where she spoke of exercise and the brain-derived neurotrophic factor and the music and she said that something like 20 brain structures are activated through the use of playing music with both hands. So now we'll move on to focus group number 2. This is our mindfulness, fitness, well-being focus group. So Kira Christofferson, she spoke about finding your why and reflecting on your why and sharing your why and your 3 sort of intrinsic motivations. And she also spoke of integral theory map, which offers a map to understand and integrate various dimensions of human experience. The 4 quadrants guide our exploration. The 4 quadrants are individual interior, our thoughts, emotions, beliefs; individual exterior, physical body behavior; collective or group interior, cultural values and worldviews; collective or group exterior, societal systems and structures. Developmental levels reflect personal and collective growth. Multiple perspectives are essential for a comprehensive understanding. Embracing integral theory promotes empathy, inclusiveness, and holistic knowledge. And she shared that integral theory map helps navigate complexity and fosters harmony in personal and collective lives. So that's something very neat. If you'd like to look further into that, I encourage you to. She also spoke about the source code meditation. Now that is a book by Michael Cotton. It's a brain first meditation, dump stress, bring energy into the prefrontal cortex. And it helps to transcend the limitations of meditation. All right, moving on to our third focus group meeting, childhood education / curriculum. Katie Broadbent, she is the chief empowerment advocate at Prenda Micro Schools. She emphasized the importance of building learning environments and curriculum that build in connection, personalization, and ownership as the roadmap to achieving great learning outcomes. She also spoke of theories in psychology and learning, emphasizing the need for forming strong attachments with children and models of curiosity, persistence, and humility. She emphasizes the value of unconditional love and acceptance. So she spoke of the prefrontal cortex, and she spoke how when faced with stress, she said that the brain its main function is to keep us safe, and the threats to our brain or to our prefrontal cortex, or the challenges or threats that we perceive as unsafe, or threats to our ego or social judgment, something new or unpredictable, and challenges to our sense of control. And she pointed out how in public school, that's sort of the norm. And she said how that takes the prefrontal cortex offline, this area right here. And the prefrontal cortex, I'll go through these quickly. The functions are decision-making, impulse control, planning and problem solving, emotional regulation, and social behavior. The threats and challenges, as mentioned, are ego threat or social judgment, unpredictability, challenges to self of control. The resulting effects are stress response and the amygdala activation. The amygdala is right here. It's a tiny little thing in the center of our brain. It is our reptilian brain, I believe. And I'm no neuroscientist, but so anyway, stress response in the amygdala fires, and the amygdala, Katie Broadbent said that it actually sort of takes the prefrontal cortex offline. And so you get impaired emotional regulation, reduced rational decision making, and she said it actually can shrink the prefrontal cortex, or so it's like I said, take it offline. So in summary, the threats and challenges affect the prefrontal cortex, the threats and challenges that children face in school, and emotional responses override rational thinking, and that understanding impact aids in managing emotions effectively. So she spoke of when we have children, the small child is just starting out in life, and it's learning, right? It's developing. It's learning how to walk and how to talk, how to do everything. So she pointed out how we don't get angry at the child when he's learning to walk for falling down, or when he's learning to talk for messing up words. We have that. We show unconditional support and love, and we give them everything we got, and we don't send them to their room or yell at them, because they fall down when they're learning. So she talks about how just, how when they fail to meet the expectations, they're treated differently, and how sometimes from here, this happy baby, you end up with an upset teen or preteen who doesn't really want to talk to you or have anything to do with you. And she said this stems from conditional acceptance, adult disappointment, a one-size-fits-all approach, unrealistic expectations, limited choice and high coercion, punishment and rewards. So this is where we want to be, she points out, with a happy teen or preteen, happy children, happy family relationship. So she points out to go from here to achieve this result, with connection, you have unconditional connection, acceptance of struggle, personalized pacing, mystery and inquiry, expanding choice, and supportive autonomy. So she gave a couple tools to get there. She spoke of the self-determination theory, which explains human motivation and personal growth. The components are autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, internal versus external drives, supporting autonomy, choices, independence, and respect, cultivating competence, skill building, and meaningful challenges, fostering relatedness, collaboration, and positive relationships, application in education, curriculum aligned with intrinsic motivation as opposed to rewards and punishments. Benefits include increased engagement, academic performance, and well-being. So, like I said, how to get to from here to here is through unconditional connection and acceptance, pacing, etc. So another tool she said to achieve better these more desired outcomes, because no one likes to see their children struggle or not do well. She said it's to change our mentality as educators, even parents, I'd say, and to, like she said, as a carpenter, their medium isn't alive, and their work, if it's not perfect, they'll throw it out and start over. She said we need to shift our thinking from carpenter to gardener. A gardener, their work is very much alive, and it has to be nurtured and tended to, and each seed is an individual, and a gardener won't just throw a seed out. If it's not growing well, they'll nurture it. So she said to change this from the thinking carpenter to gardener when it comes to threat to ego or social judgment. I can't exactly remember how she did a better job summarizing that, but I'll move on. So to something new or unpredictable. So I think she used the example of, last week we were learning fractions and now we're learning exponents or something like that. I don't know what exponents is, and this is new and I can't control, or it's challenging to me. So she spoke about going from the conductor mindset to the travel agent mindset. The conductor has one way of getting there and everything has to be on time. So she said, as opposed to the conductor, to switch to travel agent, where, there's multiple ways to get there. And, you can take a detour, you can stop for lunch, whatever you want. You can go see a friend in a neighboring state. So I think that means, the timeline and the exact route isn't as important as the final outcome. So the final one, was with the challenges to the sense of control. So she suggested taking it from a manager point of view or application, and more into a consultant. So rather than meeting the child who is, let's say, pushing back towards rules or regulations or whatever, as opposed to just yelling at them and punishing them, to be more consultant and sort of guide them through it, talk to them and figure out ways to make it work for everyone. So that was it for our childhood education / curriculum.
Maybe Amber, before you move on to focus group 4, I felt really connected with number 3. I think that's pretty much the focus of our work in evolving education without the in between, for anyone that's watching the recording later. Maybe I can share a little bit about how we work on this area of intrinsic motivation and supporting that change of mindset, which is a massive one. Because if you go back to that slide that you had before, those things, like in theory, I think everyone understands this, but the challenge is how to bring this to practice. So about 4 years ago, my partner Luz and I started this research project that started with the question that came up from many teachers that we interviewed, which was, how do I motivate children to learn? We wanted to improve education. My partner was already researching in education. She knew that there were many different ways to do things, and we wanted to see how things could be different in the real world, in learning spaces that already have made this change from carpenter to gardener, from conductor to travel agents, and from manager to consultant. But before that, we asked the teachers which were their challenges, and they said, I don't know how to motivate children to learn. So we went around the world visiting these innovative schools that really create self-directed learning spaces, that put empowerment and decision making gradually in the hands of the children and youth, and that really help them to find their passions and not judge them for their weaknesses, but rather support them to develop their strengths, and a sense of belonging and connection with the school and the learning space that allows them to really feel safe and not being on that threatening fear situation where you cannot learn anything, you cannot develop anything, or you're just avoiding getting in trouble. And the kind of the answers to this problem are incredibly diverse, and that's beautiful, I think, because it gives us lots of different tools in which we can help this transition. But I think the key to it is that change of mindset, which is a hard thing to achieve, right? Because I've got a long list of tools that we can use in the classroom, but it doesn't matter if you use them if the educators have not made that change of mindset from that controlling perspective of the conductor or the manager towards the mindset of the facilitator that is supporting children along their path. And that's been the next challenge that then we face, and that we have been working on for the last 2.5 years or so, developing training programs that really are transformational, that support people to develop not just the tools, but the mindset to make this change possible. And the way that we do it is that we first focus on their own personal development, on their sense of purpose as educators, why they do the things that they do, why they decided to go into education, building a community of people that they all feel supported towards making that change in their own learning spaces, because it's very difficult, because in each of their schools, they might feel isolated trying to bring about these changes. So by creating these connections and regular meetings, we managed to build this community. And then we help them to develop their self-awareness, their own emotional regulation, so that when then we tell them about all these different concepts, the self-determination theory and many other, actually kind of synthesize lots of these theories of motivation, and they pretty much agree on the key terms in terms of the importance of autonomy, of relevance, belonging, and competence. Competence meaning not being good at something, but the feeling that you can achieve the goals that you set. And then we go after after kind of growing yourself as a person, understanding how motivation and learning works in people. Then we can talk about the tools and how it works in different learning spaces. And then we kind of use different methodologies to help them make experiments in their learning environments, in their classes, in their schools, so that they do gradual changes, little by little, see what works, share it with the rest of the community, because most likely it's not going to work the first time, simply because it's something new and people need to get used to it and so on. But by having that community of practices that are continuously doing little experiments, learning from them, improving a little bit more, and hearing from other people's trials, we have found that to be really impactful. We just finished a training that did the beginning of this year, and we are now putting together an impact report where we have got people that have transitioned from conventional schools to more democratic learning spaces. We have got lots of school founders setting up new types of schools that are more empowering and supportive to children. And we also got, of course, lots of people that already work in this type of environments and that wanted to train with us, or even families as well, lots of families actually, and many of them end up setting up their own communities or their own schools because they don't find options that are aligned with their values within their neighborhoods and towns. So yeah, just sharing a little bit about that. And we just came back from Egypt and the UK, where we went to research about how some of these practices happen over there, and in a way it was pretty reassuring that we saw still kind of the same principles, the same values that you mentioned here, actually quite well represented, and again in different ways. No, we went to some primary schools, middle schools, high schools, and even one of them at university level, and in the sense of the key principles resonated, but now how to implement them, there was a diversity of options, and that's okay, because that means more options for educators to make those changes.
Yes, that's great. I'm so glad you came today, David. That you really, showed how to put this into application, and I can't wait to let Katie listen to this. And I'd love to make that connection. 'Cause
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to meet her because I feel we're talking about the same things here, and there's a big movement. Like there's a lot of people kind of trying to make kind of awareness campaigns, developing documentary films, doing different actions in Canada and in the US. At the moment, there's a big group trying to get organized. In Europe, there's a lot of people trying to make legal changes. Because one of the biggest challenges is that when I talk about these things with people in conventional or traditional schools, in public schools, they're very restricted by the curriculum and by the setup by law of how a school is meant to run. The fact that by a specific age, all the children are required to meet certain requirements in these subjects or disciplines, which are completely arbitrary. And I mean, they are not really related to any analysis of what's the most important things for people to learn in their lives. It's simply something that was decided at some point 100 years ago, and we are still kind of having that into our society. But anyways, because that restrictions are there, people see it very difficult about how to do it. But we also have gathered lots of examples about how it's possible in public schools, and it has to do more with the mindset, not necessarily the changes of the structure. So I completely believe that within public schools, it is possible to make a radical change just by the way that the teachers interact with their students, the choices that they present to them, how they involve them in, for instance, conflict management. So that it's not kind of you are waiting for someone to solve the conflicts, but that there's, for instance, restorative justice circles where the children talk about what happened, what they can learn from it, how can they improve the relationship. That should be the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is not punishment; it's how to improve the relationship of all the people in the classroom.
Yeah.
So yeah, very inspiring. I think the things that are happening, a lot of work that has to happen. So we're still there. That's why we're here on a Saturday.
Yes, yes, sir. And I mean, if our standards aren't working, if our systems that we built hundreds of years ago aren't working, I mean, we have to change them. I know it's a huge push and we're all going to have to come together on it, but why keep using something that's broken? I mean,
Yeah.
Standardized testing isn't helping children achieve their fullest, their greatest life. So
Yeah, absolutely.
is we need to start teaching things in school. Like, you said that actually help people. Like, we need to have social emotional learning and real world.
Yeah, like last Thursday, we received an award for social innovation, and my co-founder did a little speech. And after her talk, I don't know how many people came to her saying, wow, that really resonated with me. Because she talked precisely about these things. She said, imagine a school where there's no bullying because children have learned to manage their conflicts non-violently. Imagine a school where there's no failure because no one is judged based on their weaknesses, but are supported based on their strengths. Imagine a school where there's no teenagers that are completely lost because they have been supported to make relevant decisions about their lives gradually and know that they can learn whatever they choose to learn in their lives, not just now, but in the future as well, when they need to reinvent themselves. And so many people came to us from all sorts of ways of life, saying, I have got a nephew, I've got a daughter that happened to myself. It really doesn't work for anyone. Yeah.
I like to quote that education isn't the filling of a pot, it's the lighting of a fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also Nelson Mandela's quote of, education is the greatest weapon we have to change the world. Now, that wasn't verbatim, but we'll move to this quickly if that's all right, and then we can discuss some more. So finally, our focus group number 4, nutrition. So we spoke of the important role nutrition plays in cognition, behavior, and focus. So omega-3 fatty acids through fish and nuts support brain health and cognitive function. B vitamins, vitamin E, and antioxidants protect the brain and enhance cognitive abilities. Behavior. Balanced meals regulate blood sugar levels, impacting mood and behavior. Specific nutrients influence neurotransmitter production, affecting mood and behavior. Focus. Complex carbohydrates such as whole grains provide sustained energy for the brain. Hydration and nutrients like iron, zinc, and vitamin C impact focus and mental clarity. The key takeaways are Proper nutrition is crucial for optimal cognitive function. Balanced meals with essential nutrients support brain health and cognitive abilities. Nutrition affects focus by providing steady energy and nutrients. So the gut-brain axis we'll speak of just really quickly. The gut-brain axis is the bidirectional communication that occurs between the gut and the brain. It is facilitated through the vagus nerve, which is also the vagus nerve is what's activated through mindfulness, and it has an integral role on blood pressure, relaxation, and overall well-being. It, like I said, it plays a crucial role in well-being and mental health. It links emotional and cognitive centers of the brain with peripheral intestinal functions, and it is closely tied to the body's stress response system. I'll add, this is the last slide, I'll add that 90% of dopamine, the neurotransmitter dopamine, is produced in the gut, and that is sent up, the neurotransmitter dopamine is sent up to the brain through the vagus nerve, which is the gut-brain axis, and that produces our mood, which is just fascinating to me. I'll show you that real quick. I have a different one. I'm just going to briefly just show you the gut-brain axis vagus nerve here. That's the vagus nerve where you see the lightning. And here we go. I don't own these images, but so gut bacteria or microbiota produce serotonin, which influences mood and sleep and focus. And then the vagus nerve sends messages from the gut to the brain and vice versa. And then the brain interprets these messages and creates our mood. So that's just something I found really fascinating with the, like, I never knew how closely tied your diet was to your overall mental health and well-being. So
Awesome. Wow, so lots of things going on.
yeah, I'll do a super fast little progress report. So here's our update on organizational status. We received our approval letter from the IRS for our 501c3 nonprofit status, so we're official.
Awesome.
Which I'm very
Awesome.
excited about. Yeah, that was, and it came really quick. It can take up to like, I think 6 months, but we got it really quickly and we didn't have to do a expedition or anything. We didn't have to expedite it. So also we have a website in the making. The free website, guys, that we got accepted for them to build us a website, but there's been a bit of back and forth because we already had a domain purchase, evolvingineducation.org, but when we when we point our name servers to the website host, it breaks everything. So we're having a little bit of back and forth on that, but definitely hoping to have our website set up soon. And as soon as we get our website set up, we're going to start crowdfunding. Additionally, we have the first draft of our first ever grant request written. So hopefully we'll get all that submitted soon. As soon as we get a little funding, I plan on hiring the grant writer to research what grants we're eligible for, etc. Additionally, our neuroscience department has a couple initiatives they're working on. One of them, the parental incentive program, to help initiative where she researches innovative just practices within schools and sees the potential for it, measures the outcomes. It also, we have all of our focus group meetings set up. We do one focus group meeting per month and one general meeting, or excuse me, yeah, one of each focus group meeting per month. So one per week, but it's, you have 4 focus group meetings per month. And the 5th focus group is omitted for the meetings because the 5th focus group is other. And that's for anyone that would like to join. And I've just invited the focus group other to join any and all meetings they like. And the focus group meetings are Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, but we recap them the first Saturday of every month. So that's the progress update. That's about all I have, I believe.
Awesome. So what's your focus at the moment? Like I know the goal is kind of to improve education altogether, but what will be like a closer term objective that you have?
Short-term objectives, we're looking into developmental engaging shorts. Like I watched a video, and we're looking into just sort of gathering information and disseminating it, dispersing it. So through informational shorts, like for instance, I found this video, and they already exist everywhere and they're helpful, but more sort of just to compile them all and get them out mass distribution. Another short-term goal, I'll show you an example of the video. There's like the developmental shorts I'm talking about. Another short-term goal is a pilot school. I'm hoping to get our first pilot school so our neuroscience department can start on their research innovation initiative. My goal is for right here in Alabama, our board of directors, one of our members of our board of directors is the mayor of a small town bordering my town called Leeton, Alabama. And he's made big pushes in education out there. They're doing more outdoor learning. They built an outdoor learning classroom. He's made a good connection with the, head of education around here. And he suggested, starting something in Leeton. So my current short-term goal is to, perhaps start a pilot school right here in Leeton. I don't know if it's on the table yet. That'll be discussed at our next board meeting, but so with the developmental short videos, for instance, this is one I learned, and I hope you'll bear with me. I'm not very good at it, but it was exercises that they did with children, and it was something like this. They clap their hands, and it activates both sides of the brain, like it gets both hemispheres of the brain. And another one is and like I said, they already exist, but there's just all these different tips and tricks for activating both sides of your brain and leveraging brain development. So I figure, why not sort of just get them all together and mass produce them in easy to watch, fun, engaging, let's say TikTok or YouTube shorts. Another is, this is simple. It's you hold each earlobe with your arms crossed and you do the squats. And that improves cognitive function immensely. It gets the brain prepped and primed to learn. So whether, we get all this information together and create shorts and put them out there, or get all this information together and just, figure out how to implement it within the comprehensive curriculum we hope to develop, or materials, because I don't even know that curriculum's the way to go. You've heard of unschooling, I'm sure. So
yeah, a lot of it.
that's my goal is to look at it all, look at everything, incorporate the best practices from everything, democratic education, Montessori. Is there democratic Montessori school?
Yeah, Montessori is more of a philosophy than necessarily a very specific method, or although they have developed then very specific methods and trainings and things like that to get kind of Montessori stamp. But really, any school can call themselves Montessori. There's nothing that will even need any sort of certification or something like this. But the principles are very simple, very similar to the things that we have been talking about before. It's really about self-direction of the children, to play in a safe space, interacting with the different elements, in more kind of, I guess, structure Montessori. They use very specific games and tools and so on, so that the kids play specifically with those things. Most people that I have met and interviewed in different learning centers told me that you don't need to have exactly those games that that the children can play with a tree, in nature, with leaves. You don't need exactly a block that is orange and of certain shape to learn these things. So yeah, it's more, I think, about that personal development of the trainings to become the teachers, to become facilitators and support the children, and just in the way they communicate with them, with that consent, with that passing on the responsibility always to them. It's not that I'm here to do the things for you, but how can I help you? Or what happened in that? Can you tell me what happened on that day, and what did you learn about yourself, and what's going to be your next goal based on that? It's really about developing those skills to which it takes from so many different places, from coaching, mentoring, you mentioned before, consulting, effective feedback, nonviolent communication, lots of different things that are integrated into developing kind of the character and behavior of a good learning facilitator.
Yes, that's another objective of evolving in education is teacher training.
Mhm.
Do you have any recommendations for possible potential short-term objectives for evolving in education?
Well, I wanted for yourself, like if I have objectives that where I see you being. Um,
And
I don't
perhaps
know.
potentially objectives we could potentially work on together even.
Yeah, no, definitely in that area, yes, and I think that focus group 3 that you mentioned. So I see that, I mean, that you have amazing values and they're very aligned with the things that we want to do, and then it's about, I think, for any organization to think about what are your goals and then what are your strengths or possibilities that you can leverage to move towards that direction. No, for instance, I don't know, we do some documentary films, and we have some documentary films. One of them is called Killing Curiosity, and it's precisely explaining what things are not working in schools. But that's not necessarily one of our strengths. We have got into it and we learn about it, but we didn't have necessarily learnings about that field before. So it took us a long time to get to the point where we are now. And what I wanted to say with that is to leverage the existing resources and connections of people that have already gone a long way in all these different fields, to kind of make sure that, because many of these pieces of research and all these things already are there, but they're not necessarily accessible to the people that need it the most to make the change. So I think that would be one of the most impactful things that you can do, would be kind of creating these connections between the resources or experts in different subject matters, and then the schools that are willing to experiment and to do things differently. So, for instance, if we have become, in a way, I mean, trainers of teachers of schools to make this change of mindsets and tools and learning spaces. So if you want, for instance, to reach schools in the US and to make this transition, it will be amazing to work with you to do precisely this. We have got already a well-validated training program and processes and even guides to have more facilitators in case we need to scale and so on. And we have got people from the US that have taken our trainings as well before. So yeah, I'll be happy to share some of that info with you. We're putting it together now, kind of the impact report of what happened, because I think that's also very interesting to see. Not just kind of the short-term impact of, okay, this many people sign up and so on, but what happened in their learning spaces. So we asked them to document what they did in their schools, what changed, and it's super exciting to see what people have managed to do just with that inspiration, with that support. I think that's another thing. Like, we really do kind of this really close, continuous support to what we call education change makers, and we really make them feel heroes in their own schools because they're doing something really difficult, which is changing the system from within. So we give them all the tools, all the support, all the recognition to help them to go along that process.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. So
yeah, I would love to work with you guys. And I remember the first meeting we had, I spoke about, trying to bring all these people that are already doing all this and all this knowledge together. So definitely, that's a great near goal, or achievable. I think it's an achievable goal.
yeah,
Also, I've been wanting to ask you, would you like to do a presentation at one of our childhood education / focus group meetings?
absolutely. Yeah.
Wonderful. So I already have somebody set up for this upcoming one, because he was supposed to present at the first one, but he had to push it back. But And I know you've been busy, but I would love for you to perhaps next month.
Mhm. Yeah. Now I'm gonna be a lot more available. So it's because we were really focused on the training and then more research. So from now, so we're planning a training starting February next year. So we have plenty of time. And from now to that point, I'm gonna be engaging with different networks of schools, foundations, and NGOs working in education to make that program possible. So that at the end, we've got lots of people that want this change in education, and that we work together to make it possible. Sometimes, usually we reach lots of people individually that decide to train with us, individual schools, and then we also work with organizations. Like last year, we had a network of learning spaces in India and Africa that trained a ton of their facilitators with us. And that was an amazing experience because they were really creative. Their teachers like really motivated to make a difference. So it was super cool.
That's great. We've actually recently aligned with Caboodle Innovations. They're a learning accelerator out of India,
Mm-hmm.
and they bridge the gap between teaching and learning. They have sort of like a after school gamified type model for like reinforcing it, sort of like even homework, but they've put a lot of legwork into what they have, and they've offered their help, their resources to evolving in education. And I know they do they have teacher training as well. So, and I think they're up for like sort of working with us to, inform what they have now, and using aspect. I think the potential they have to help with teacher training, just to disseminate that information in addition to parental involvement.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of that, like it gets the administration and students and or teachers, administrators, students, and parents all sort of connected.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to set up a meeting with you and the founders of Caboodle sometime, so we could perhaps discuss their potential collaborations.
Sure. Happy to speak with them. Yeah, I saw the video that you sent and I had a look at their website,
We did.
see
Cool.
what they were doing. Yeah.
I forgot I sent that. I apologize. And it is rather gamified, and I do know that the focus needs to be a holistic, and we can't become dependent on the just tech. I wouldn't say we have to. But,
Mhm.
speaking of tech, are you familiar with ed tech?
Yeah.
Katie, during that meeting, Katie Broadbent, the Chief Empowerment Advocate at Prenda, she spoke of how we have it flipped in the United States. Like we use ed tech for individualized as opposed to whole group. And then she said in Europe, they use it for the individualized, where the teacher can, she said that it allows for an individualized learning plan.
Mm-hmm.
She said that students in class in public schools, you're only teaching to about 1/3 of the percent. She said about 2/3 of students, she said they've tested, they've talked to them coming into Prenda. 2/3 of students were either lost or bored during the studies. That means it's only 1/3, 2/3 of them are just sitting there mind wandering. And she said that ed tech can sort of create individualized, differentiated learning plans. And I mean, I think we ought to look into that more,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, EdTech, my understanding of EdTech is that educational technology. So it's any technology applied to education. So lots of different tools in there. But definitely in the terms of personalized learning, there are a lot of different startups with different solutions. I mean, one that you might know, these guys, they're very famous. He just escaped out of my mind. It was a math teacher that started doing YouTube videos about his classes, and then it became pretty much the whole primary school curriculum. It's already in videos and super well explained with graphics and dynamics and everything else. And what allows is for self-pace of learning. So children can, it's like assist to the classes when they feel that they are ready for that piece of content. They can rewatch it as many times as they want. So many learning spaces that I have visited use technology, of course, to allow the personalization of the learning paths of the students. There might be a lesson or something that is about, imagine, mathematics, and then people might be in different stages. And how do you manage that? Allowing resources so that they can manage their own learning processes. There can be some people that like more to, or children that like more to do it physically or with objects, things like this. And there might be others that prefer to watch videos or do some games. So yeah, these tools are fantastic to expand the options available to children to learn in the way that fits best the way that they learn.
Definitely. Also, the whole flipped classroom thing.
Yeah.
So that's all very encouraging. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, flip classroom. It's yeah, I think that's fantastic methodology as well. It's like giving them the materials and then and also just open internet to research and then present to the rest of the class, right? So that each of them can focus on the things that they are more motivated about, and then making it conversational and a dialogue kind of type of learning, which seems to be something quite powerful to build that sense of belonging in the classroom.
Yes.
Mhm.
Very cool. Well, I'll tell you, I'm very encouraged from this talk, and I can't thank you enough for joining today, David.
Absolutely, and if you want, we can even well let's meet maybe for the next focus group. But
Yeah.
definitely let's think about how to put something together for early next year. I mean, how can we come together to apply? Because we're also in the process of applying for grants and things like this in Europe with another organization. So it would be great to partner with you and think about what grants can we access to offer teacher training to a selected number of schools that are open to innovation and progressive thinking, and that we can do a little pilot, maybe coming with our training and maybe some other research grant to see the impact of it or something like this. Yeah, because I mean, all the things that we're sharing are based on a lot of research, and now I think close to 200 people that have set up innovative learning centers all around the world, and that they agree on a lot of the core concepts. So yeah, we're looking forward to have kind of that implementation partner that help us to really make that change into schools. And we're now partnering with different organizations in different regions and in different levels of education, primary school, high school, and so on. So yeah, happy to work with you on that front.
Very cool. I'm super excited. Yeah, so our next focus group meeting is this Wednesday at 6. I don't know if that time works
Okay.
for you. It's developmental neuro/psychology.
Yeah, this Wednesday. This Wednesday I'm not gonna be available because I have to figure out. I'm gonna be out of home.
Let me try to figure out the date of the next curriculum focus group meeting if you'd like to attend that.
Yeah.
So, okay, this
So if you remind me that the focus groups were neuroscience, food.
neuroscience, mindfulness, fitness, well-being, childhood education, curriculum, and nutrition. And then there's the group other. And the developmental neuro is developmental neuro/psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nutrition, so this will be.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the part that where I like, we started to do lots of things. We did webinars on all topics from psychology to nature-based education, documentary films, as I mentioned, lots of collaborations, and then teacher trainings. And little by little, we have focused on the area where we found that we were best and we were having the biggest impact, and that was teacher training. So now, rather than doing all those things, we are focusing on how, now that we have got something pretty good, making it even better, and then making collaborations with people that are doing the other things that we need to transform education.
And the key, I think, also is like to make it replicatable, right? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're building those kind of facilitator guides and downloadable tools, and making the process so that really it's applicable to, so that anyone can take the training and go through that process of personal development and then school transformation, and being supported along that process. Yeah.
that's great. That's wonderful. And I look forward to making the connection between you and Katie Broadbent, because the Prendo micro schools, it sounds like, you guys' missions sort of aligned because they also have guides. But I believe that our upcoming childhood education / curriculum meeting will be Wednesday, July 26th at 6
Mhm.
p.m. Central Standard Time. And like I said, I believe I have a presentation scheduled for that one, but I would absolutely love if you guys wanted to do one for the next one. Oh, Anamika joined. Here's Anamika. She's the co-founder of Caboodle. I know we're about to wrap up, but
Okay.
I'd love to make this connection quickly. Hi, Anna. Hello, Anna. Thanks for joining. So maybe, but yes, David, I would just adore if you guys would present, and I'll get you the information, the date on the next one, and also.
I don't know if you got a focus group for teacher training, or maybe all the focus groups could do teacher training, I guess. But yeah, that's the one I think where I can contribute the most.
Yeah, that's we have that as an objective, and all 4 focus groups are going to work simultaneously, or excuse me, all 5 focus groups will work simultaneously towards our 4 broad objectives.
Mhm.
So, but
Okay.
that's awesome. Greetings, Anna. Thanks for joining.
I am good.
We're just wrapping up. The time zone got us again, unfortunately, but this is David from Evolving Education. Would you?
Hi, David.
do
Hi,
you
David.
mind-
I'm so sorry. I was stuck in a jam. It's a terrible situation in Delhi. I was trying to catch up and be there to join this meeting, but I couldn't. I'm so sorry.
No worries. I recorded it, but if you guys would introduce yourselves really quickly. David and I were just speaking of teacher training, and I was just telling him about how your learning accelerator and how we hope to potentially collaborate at some point.
Yeah, we are basically trying to build up a content, curate a curriculum design uh, uh, with the tech part. We have really created a tech on the curriculum design that we have made for schools, and which is basically for teachers training.
Mhm. So you use the platform for teacher training, so for teachers to manage their classrooms, homeworks, and all
Yeah,
that kind of thing?
yeah. Basically, it's that we have built a tech wherein we have the entire curriculum overview and day-wise lesson planning, and also assessment. It is like there's a feedback loop of the entire thing of
Mhm.
teaching and learning, and parents get the overview and picture and reports of whatever is going on in the class, and the learning outcomes, and the developmental milestones graphically represented, and a lot of paper work is minused, and a lot of so the entire thing is like an SOP for school to teach in a way the learning, the teaching happens more child centric rather than teacher centric.
Mhm. And how do you achieve that? Do you have like personalized learning plans or ways for the
Yes,
student to choose
yes,
the? Yeah.
yes. We have created differentiated plans for 3 types of learners, because in India we have a varied range of teachers, and I mean uh, there is a lot of lack of disparity in the level of teachers also. So we had to broadly divide the students in 3 groups, cognitive levels. We didn't go much deeper into different levels, but to start with, we have categorized them in 3 levels and asked the teachers and curated the curriculum in a way that they should know, they should be aware that all the activities and the questions and everything should revolve around 3 different levels of uh, learning by the students.
Okay, and those 3 levels are kind of advanced, middle, and slow learner.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. Maybe a short intro by me. So I'm David. Hello. I'm currently in Spain. I'm Spanish, but I've being out of Spain for kind of 10 years now. I now live most of the year in Mexico, between Mexico. Anyway, kind of digital nomad, lived in lots of parts of the world, the UK, Belgium. I've spent a good amount of time in India. In fact, I think there's a lot of innovation in education happening in India. It's
Yes.
maybe the country where we've got one of the largest numbers of collaborators at the moment. And what we do at Evolving Education is that we research what works in some of the most innovative learning spaces on the planet, and then develop transformational trainings to allow teachers to develop the mindset and the tools to make those changes, meaningful changes in their learning spaces. And that goes through a process of growing themselves as an individual person, and then understanding, doing little experiments to understand what works in their own communities, because each community's needs are different. I'm saying that children's needs. So yeah, we kind of do very personalized teacher training to allow this to happen, because since standardization doesn't work for children, it doesn't work for adults either. And we also need to feel valued individually and get supported along that process. And yeah, and everything that we do is online. And that's also a way for us to allow to have really low cost that allows our training to be really cheap compared to any other teacher training, and to reach any geography. There was.
Do you certify? Do you give certificates for the training?
That's something at the moment we give them, but as our own organization, which is a non-for-profit association registered in Spain. But we are working now with some collaborators for different, because we work with people at the moment in I don't know how many countries. In each country, you need different type of certifications. So for that, we work with collaborators.
Okay. So how long is the duration of this teacher's training, and what levels are you?
So it's a 3-month process. Now we're giving an extra month of access to the contents, because people wanted more access to them. And then in terms of education level, we have got people from all sorts of educational level, really, because it's about the mindset towards learning. It's the change of mindset from being a teacher, a professor, someone that distributes information, to someone that facilitates learning. But in short, the majority of people that work with us are working either in primary school, high school, or actually mixed ages. Lots of innovative learning spaces where children of mixed ages choose where they go and their profiles. We've got lots of people in progressive schools, lots of school founders, and teachers as well. Lots of teachers in conventional schools that want to do things differently. But what you're doing, it's great. I think one of the things that I'm listening the most lately, I'm hearing the most lately, is the bureaucracy. How much time teachers have to waste into paperwork rather than listening individually to each of the young people in their classes, and how to support them best. So any tool that can allow them to just automate all of that would be amazing.
That's amazing initiative, and this is the need of the hour, and I wish you all the best. I know it will work. You will reach great heights, and this is the need of the hour, and this is how the education can evolve, like they have started. So you're definitely in the right space, right at the right time, and like this is the very positive change that some few people will bring in.
Thank you. It's a long journey. It's in a way, because it's kind of rowing against the current, right? But then it's actually not even rowing. So do you have time for because I think Amber, I've been sharing some, but I think we're finishing now the call anyways. That I just wanted to say that the things that we do feels like rowing against the current, but then when you look at the recommendations from UNESCO, from the European Union, from all the big foundations, even the World Economic Forum, all of them are talking about the same thing. And what they're saying is we need people to develop essential life skills, because we don't know how the future is going to look like. And some of those essential life skills, the one that they put at top is agency and lifelong learning. Those are kind of the two that UNESCO, for instance, places at the top. And then you have critical thinking, problem solving, empathy. And many of these things is not something that you can teach, but you can create the environment for it. So it's not about teaching the definition of lifelong learning. It's about how you enable a learning space where people feel empowered to learn the things that they are motivated about. And that learning and teaching doesn't become, or education, something that you don't want to hear about because it's something that has been enforced onto you, but rather that every time you were curious about something, you had these learning facilitators that ask you really good questions like, oh, wow, where did that idea come from? And what are you going to do about that? And have you thought about sharing it with other of your colleagues to see whether they want to build a project with you about that? You know, and then suddenly you find in these schools youth of 12 or 13 years old that are, I don't know, the last one we visited we were in the UK recently, and in Brighton, for instance, is one that's called Self-Managed Learning College, where they implemented lots of these methodologies from business schools to high school level. And they are the same kind of philosophy and methodologies, and we were talking with some children who were learning Arabic and Chinese because they were really passionate about learning languages, and this was a girl 12 years old. Usually she will have been told it's not the time for that, you just need to focus on this other thing which we have decided. And then there were some other children that were doing music and you know, just different paths without judgment, without putting one of those activities on top of another. I think that's one of the big changes of mindset, of not being judgmental about the path, the learning paths that children take, but do challenge with our questions and ask why you decide to do that or why not doing these other things. So yeah, that balance in between not judgment, but kind of challenging learning, that's a positive way of looking at it. Anyway, I'm very passionate about this. I can be talking for hours, so I'm sorry for Amber.
Those things can't be
good.
taught, like agency, emotion, you know,
Yeah.
all that social emotional intelligence. I like we said about asking questions, but it also, you know, modeling is the way.
Yeah.
It's just to model that and connection.
Yeah, and for that we need teachers, educators to know themselves, to know their own passions, so they can share them with others and role model. Look, I actually love boats, and I do these little models of boats because I love that, or whatever it is. So we ask them a lot to teachers in our trainings about their wishes, their dreams, and it's just human. That was something that one of the people that we interviewed after the training for feedback, she said it's the most human training I've ever taken. And that was really heartwarming.
Another thing I love is overarching curriculum. You know, like let's say a child loves boats, but they don't love math. Perhaps you could teach the child some math, you know, measuring the area of the sail or something like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's very cool. The
Real,
overarching.
real life situations.
Yes.
Yeah, and then from that boat you learn geometry, and you also write a poetry about the sea. You know, there's lots of things that you can connect from it.
Definitely. Overarching is, I think that's something that will be the way of the future, more and more, or integrative curriculum.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, would you guys potentially be interested in a collaboration at some point, possibly?
Sure, why not? Why not? I mean, this is the age of collaboration, and we should. If we can, you know, you have done your part of research, we have done our part of research, and if we collaborate, it will be a bigger and better thing, maybe.
Yeah. David and I have always discussed the importance of, I've said to him from the beginning, you know, just my goal is to bring all the people that are already doing this together to make it stronger, not to try to do it myself or watch someone else, try to compete with someone else that's already doing it. It's to try to just combine all the wisdom and knowledge.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
It's just a curriculum, or you've just also merged it with a tech part also, the platform.
A platform, we just subscribe to an existing, we use Thinkific. Do you know it? It's just an e-learning management system where we put the content so that it's easy to access. You can have it on your phone.
Okay. So we are kind of building the platform that we have built is basically the entire curriculum design platform, which is like every day you click on the activity and then
Mhm.
you see what developmental milestone you have reached, how much integrated it is, what differentiation technique it is used, and what is the learning outcome. It's like entirely a scientific feedback loop of what is being taught and what is being learned.
Mhm.
And the assessment is also it is also calculated, and there is a algorithm behind everything, and it's like, I'm not a very technical person. I can't describe it much. I'm more of a content person. So, but I know that the entire thing is would definitely help teachers reduce a lot of their
The workload. Yeah.
burnout, paperwork, and a lot of things this platform will do for them.
Mhm.
A
That's
lot of
fantastic.
report writing,
I think
lot
that's
of
a great
observation.
combination. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Oh, that's awesome. Well, hopefully we could set up another meeting soon, or hope to see you
Mhm.
guys in another meeting.
Sure.
You guys
Yeah.
want to keep discussing, you're welcome to. If not, we can call it for today.
Great seeing you, Amber. And nice to meet you, Anamika.
Same here, David.
I'll let you
Same
hear
here. Good night.
my email just to.
I'm glad I could, be with the catch up in the last moment, so I could get this 5-10 minutes of yours. I'm really honored.
I'm so glad you guys both showed up. I think it's kismet, really.
Oh, come
So
on, we had to
David,
show up, but I'm really extremely sorry for being late. I'm
No
so sorry,
worries.
and this is my loss.
No worries. Like I said, I recorded it, so you're welcome to watch it if you
Great.
like. I recapped
Yeah.
all the key points from the focus group meetings, and David shared his email address with you via the chat.
Okay. Okay.
If you want to capture that.
I'll share mine. Yes.
Okay, speak soon then. I'll make a note for the 26th of July for the next meeting.
Awesome. And Anna's sharing with you her email address as well, David.
Okay.
I'm there in the LinkedIn also. LinkedIn, I'm connected with.
Yeah, definitely. I'm there.
Cool.
Let me copy that one.
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. Thank you guys so much. I look forward to doing it again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good night. Have a great day.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night and good morning.
Bye-bye.
Good afternoon.
That's a good afternoon to you all.
Yeah.